All right, so today we're going to talk about and review Rocky 5. And this one to me, rewatching it again, which, I've already gone back and rewatched the Rockies, even though it's been a month ago. But, watching it again, I don't hate Rocky 5, but it's not without its flaws. And I'll get into that here. But the story, so with Rocky 5, he's forced to retire after permanent damage inflicted by Ivan Drago. Learning he's got brain damage. Rocky and Adrian, they discover that they are bankrupt, and because Rocky's accountant squandered their money, they move back to the old neighborhood where Balboa, he meets Tommy Gunn, played by Tommy Morrison, who's this up and comer, and he wants to be trained by Rocky. But he quickly turns on Rocky, because he's not moving up fast enough. And that's the story here with Rocky 5. It's directed by John Avildsen, who, directed the first Rocky film, which is classic. The Karate Kid, the first movie, again, classic. The Karate Kid Part 2, great follow-up. He also directed Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman, another great movie. But, he also directed The Karate Kid Part 3 just prior to Rocky 5. And I do wonder what happened there with John Avildsen. Like, maybe somebody out there has more of an answer than I do. Maybe I should have, done a little bit more research on that. But, I kind of wonder with John Avildsen, like, what happened there. Like, kind of like that fall from grace a little bit, where you direct Rocky and The Karate Kid. And I love The Karate Kid Part 2. Lean on Me is a great movie. But I wonder, what happened there with The Karate Kid Part 3. And then going into Rocky 5, which both movies are just, Now, if you were to ask me, I'd rather watch Rocky 5 than The Karate Kid Part 3. I think Rocky 5 is slightly better. Because there are some things here that I do like about the movie. I give, Rocky 5 some merits. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I do wonder what happened here with John Avildsen. Like, kind of a fall from grace where, you direct two great movies that are classics, that are timeless, and then you direct, two sequels, Karate Kid Part 3, Rocky 5, which are definitely, inferior. But I think, for me, Rocky 5 has a little bit more merits here. But the cast here, okay. Stallone, his performance here, and that's one thing that I'm not a fan of, when it comes to Rocky 5, is that Sly tends to overact here, like he's trying so hard to go back to that, to the first Rocky, where he's very, like, this is 15 years almost after the first Rocky film. And, he's trying so hard to go back to, that type of performance here, with Rocky 5, and it just doesn't work for me. He's overacting quite a bit. When there's moments that are subtle, it's not bad, but that kind of goes back to the story here, which is another thing that I have an issue with when it comes to Rocky 5. So, Stallone's acting here, I'm not a fan of. The cast here, the rest of the supporting players, so you also have Talia Shire, she returns as Adrian, and she's not bad. She's great in other movies. And this will be, unfortunately, the last time we would see Adrian. You have Sage Stallone as, Robert, Rocky Jr., and I didn't think he was too bad in the film. Like, I didn't mind Sage. I think he does a better job than whoever they had in Rocky 4. Not saying that he was bad, but I think that Sage, did a good job here. I mean, he did not, he didn't do too bad of a job. And I know he had a bit role in Daylight in just a few years. But here, you also have the additions of, you have a new antagonist. You have Tommy Gunn, played by, real life boxer Tommy Morrison, which I liked. I liked Tommy Gunn in the film. Again, he's this up and comer. He was very, hungry. He wants to move up in boxing, and he wants that championship. But again, I like Tommy Gunn in the film. I like that character. The character of George Washington Duke, played by Richard Gant. He's one of the best things about the movie. His performance, I would say, a memorable character. I would say his character is memorable. Again, I think he does a good job in the film. And just some of the dialogue that he was given here, it's fun. So I like the character of Duke in the movie. Yeah, I mean, and then you have the other boxer, the character of Union Kane, that you see in the film for a little bit. He wants a piece of Rocky, but, Rocky's retired. But I do think, again, some of the characters here, the cast, I mean, we have the regulars that come back. But I do like, the new characters of Tommy Gunn and Duke here. So I do like the cast. Now, if I talk about some of the positives with Rocky 5, because there is some good stuff here. The flashback scene between Rocky and Mickey is one of the best scenes of the film. It's cool to see Mickey one last time, even though it's a flashback, but it's still a great scene. And really, I could say that scene deserves a better movie because it was such a nice moment. And it's hard to believe that, this one scene is in this movie. I mean, because it's a flawed movie, but I love this scene. Again, it's one of the best scenes. And again, I talked about, some of the new characters here of Tommy Gunn. I thought he was a decent villain. And I prefer Tommy Gunn more than Mason the Lion Dixon, because Tommy Morrison, again, being a real life boxer, but, I think Tommy Gunn, even though he's no Ivan Drago, he's no Apollo Creed, he's no Clubber Lang, but I still think he does a decent job of playing this character. And again, the character of Duke, Sage Stallone, he's not bad as Rocky Jr. So I like some of the new characters here. The song at the end, The Measure of a Man by Elton John, a great song. I really love that song at the end of the film. The end fight, the fight in the streets, I thought it was a solid fight. I mean, you could argue that, it should have been in a ring, but, being in the streets, I mean, if you were to ask me, yes, I'd rather have this fight in a ring, but, for a street fight, it's not bad. So those are some of the things that I liked about Rocky 5. Now, getting to some of the cons with the film. Earlier I talked about Stallone's overacting. The whole story of, them going broke and going from riches to rags. I didn't really care for that. Then I have to wonder why, go that route. I mean, there's like 1,000 other ideas you could have done other than this. Now, I know there's a work print out there. I haven't seen the Rocky 5 work print. So I don't know how different it is from this movie. One day I would like to give it a watch and see what's different. But, again, the whole thing of going broke and going back to the old neighborhood, and I get wanting to go back to the heart of the first two Rockies. But it just doesn't work when you have Rocky 4, them celebrating Rocky at the end, giving that great speech. Rocky's on top of the world, and, you go from that to, Rocky 5, where they're damn broke. And then you throw in the brain damage. To me, you didn't really need that. Like, I'd much rather, if I were to pick between Rocky going broke and having brain damage, I'd rather just have the brain damage. That way, for Rocky 5, you could just have Rocky train the up-and-comer. You don't have to put in that, they're broke and, they've lost all their money. Just have, Rocky kind of semi-retired by Rocky 5. But, brain damage, I just didn't like it. And, the timeline stuff, the continuity issue of, his son in Rocky 4 being whatever he was, 8 or 9, 10, 10 years old or whatever. And, by the time he gets back, he's, 13 or 14, however old, Sage is or Rocky Jr. is. But that's just one of those things like, what? I kind of question why, why is there a sudden time jump? Unless, I don't know. But that's just one of those continuity issues that is glaring. Some of the music in the film, like some of the hip hop, early rap, or, whatever that was. I didn't care for some of the music choices in the film. The song at the end's great. The Measure of a Man's a great song, and whenever you do hear Bill, like Bill Conti's score, like during the flashback moment, that's cool. I like that Bill Conti music. But, some of the other hip hop type of music in the film, I didn't really care for. But that's what Rocky 5 is for me. It's a film that just kind of falls right in the middle. There's stuff that I give credit for, but the flaws can't be ignored. It's like one step forward, 3 steps back. And when compared to the first 4 Rockies, it is the weakest of the series. And like I said in my review of Rocky 4, I was thinking about, should have the franchise ended with Rocky 4. And looking back, I would have been fine with that. Especially that end of Rocky 4 where, Rocky is being celebrated. Like even prior to that, given the victory speech, Rocky is on top of the world. And, that would have been a great conclusion to the series. But we got Rocky 5 and, like I said, I talked about some of the stuff here that I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of, Sly's acting. I'm not a fan of the going broke subplot and the brain damage and, like, okay, if you want to have a little bit of that brain damage in there, like maybe if just for okay, let's just say for this movie here, if he is retired because, of brain damage or maybe a little bit of that, but I don't know, just, you didn't need to have Rocky going broke. That to me is worse. But, so, yeah, I talked about some of that stuff here. Now it is time for my overall thoughts on Rocky 5. While this film does provide some positive points and merits, it is the weakest of the series. Story and direction are the biggest setbacks with this century. Again, has some good things, but not without its flaws. For me, a time waster. And out of 5 stars, I'm going to give Rocky 5 2.5 stars. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my review of Rocky Balboa.